Welcome back to another random snorkeling adventure. So for today's underwater adventure, we're actually going back to a spring that I've been at before. The last time I was here, it was browned out and you could hardly see anything, even though I did find an alligator snapping turtle down the bottom. But I just checked and underwater conditions today are looking tight. So hopefully the sun will come out because that's kind of another important factor, but I'm hopeful it will. And I think we're in stock for some awesome underwater scenes. What's cool about this spring is the nearby river often floods into the spring, mixing tannic water with crystal clear spring water. And what results is a pretty amazing confluence. Remember, a confluence is where one body of water and another body of water mix together. Also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about my camera and underwater housing, then stay tuned to the end of the episode and I'll walk you through it. Now it is time to suit up. All right, got the bottoms on. Time for the top. All right, looks like the sun might actually be peeking out, so I think we'll be in business. Oh yeah. As my head went beneath the surface, I was immediately greeted by the yawning spring vent below. It was 70 feet to the bottom, and thanks to the crystal clear water flowing up from the Floridan aquifer, I could easily see all the way down. Surrounding the mouth of the spring was a widening ring of layered limestone, offering a rare glimpse of what the underground aquatic worlds beneath Florida look like. I grabbed a breath and dove down a little ways, probably just to 20 feet or so. And then I looked back up at the surface. There was a thin layer of debris and river water on top of the spring. Not everything was crystal clear water from the aquifer. And just beyond the layered waters, I could see the surrounding cypress trees that towered overhead. Back at the surface, a large bluegill sunfish was hovering over the spring's abyss and circled around me as I followed him closely with my camera. As I moved to the edge of the spring vent, I began to see the distinct layering of the confluence. The warmer tannic river water was resting on top of the cooler blue-green spring water and was creating a vibrant contrast. I quickly realized I was in for some pretty mind-blowing underwater vistas today, so I struck off into this Technicolor dreamland to see what all I could find. First sign of life was the turtles. They were everywhere. Most of them were huge. My head was already spinning from all the color and sunlight that was bombarding my eyeballs, but in the middle of all that were turtles, cruising back and forth from the surface like spaceships cruising through some deep space nebula. For the most part, these turtles are Suwannee River cooters. There were turtles resting in the drowned branches at the edge of the spring, and there were turtles swimming in the clear blue water above the vent itself. Although there was no turtle shortage at the spring, they were quite shy, and getting a decent side profile shot of them was proving to be pretty difficult. I noticed they were eating some of the algae covering the rocks along the bottom of the spring. It's not the most nutritious food source, but they seem to be making do with it. I followed a few of the turtles around for a while as they explored the confluence, and I have to say, it's a pretty stunning place to be a turtle. And then, finally, a little turtle let me get a nice side profile shot of it as it swam by. While the water was crazy beautiful, the spring itself was sadly pretty barren. Algae covered pretty much every underwater surface, which was mostly limestone rock, arranged into some interesting features along the spring floor. But there were also a few sunken trees along the edge of the spring that had a fuzzy green coat as well. I found a few aquatic plants tucked away in some shallow protected corners, but remember that most of these environments should have dense aquatic vegetation everywhere. But sadly, groundwater contamination in the watershed allows algae to take hold and choke out the native aquatic vegetation. But my underwater exploration continued, and now it was time to see what fish I could find. For starters, I saw this decently sized largemouth bass hiding in the shallows. A common sight, but it was the only bass I saw today. Next up, I spotted more bluegill sunfish. Now, sunfish and sunbeams are already a killer combination, but add the sunset and gas giant vibes radiating from the confluence, and well, I think these scenes speak for themselves. But the most plentiful fish I saw today was the spotted sucker. As their name implies, spotted suckers have a downturned mouth they use to root along the bottom and suck up food, which is mostly mollusks and aquatic insects. These fish would regularly move back and forth between the layers of water, hiding in the safety of the Tannic River water before bravely descending into the cooler spring water to forage on the bottom. Spotted suckers are actually pretty sensitive to water quality, so their presence is a good sign. This doesn't mean the ecosystem is totally healthy, but it does indicate that there is a spark of life that is ready and eager to be restored. I usually only see these fish in small groups, so it was neat to see loads of them all hanging out together today. I briefly caught a glimpse of a massive grass carp. It had to be close to 40 pounds. It didn't stick around, however. These fish are native to Siberia and China, but sterile individuals are introduced in Florida to help with invasive plant control. They're effective at eating the plants, but they also aren't really supposed to be here. By this point, I was pretty much in straight river water, but through the red haze, I saw a fan favorite fish, the bowfin. These ancient fish are so fascinating, and that undulating dorsal fin is straight up hypnotic. I think they were not anticipating visitors, so I didn't get much time with them. I was, however, very impressed when I found out just how fast they can move when they want to skedaddle. And then, as I was heading back towards the head spring, a tiny shape on the limestone below caught my eye. It's not a baby snapping turtle, it's a full-grown loggerhead musk turtle. I followed him along past this barfing sunfish as he cruised over the algae-carpeted rocks. These little guys tend to be pretty flighty, which makes sense as they're not a very big turtle species and everything else is huge in comparison to them. What is big, however, is their head, which is a good thing, as they use their big jaws to crush snails, which are a major part of their diet. I started to see a few more individuals around the spring, but I was still having trouble getting close to them. So I moved to the edge of the spring and started searching among the cypress roots to see if I could get just one close-up shot. With a little luck and some effort, I found a willing subject. They are cute, there's no question. But let me tell you, those jaws pack a punch, and they do not hesitate to bite. And that's probably why they get confused for baby snapping turtles all the time. By now, I had seen just about all there was to see in this colorful aquatic world. If I could, I would stay and watch the sunset and sunrise in this beautiful underwater ecosystem. But random snorkeling adventures always do inevitably come to an end. So I headed back into the blue-green waters above the spring vent and floated over the sunlit abyss one more time before heading up and out. But don't leave your seats just yet, folks. Well, that's the end of the footage I captured on this snorkeling adventure. I filmed some cool fish behavior a while back in this same spring in the exact same conditions and want to share it with you guys. One of the last times I was here, there were a ton of striped mullet in the spring. These fish can move pretty seamlessly between fresh and salt water, but I noticed that these individuals were busy rummaging along a sandy section of the bottom of the spring. I couldn't quite tell what they were doing at first, but as I got closer, I realized they were gulping in mouthfuls of sediment before heading back up to the surface. As they swam upwards into the amber river water, they left these cloudy trails behind them. Honestly, my first thought was these fish are pooping so much this is crazy. But eventually, I realized I was not swimming through poop clouds. Instead, the mullet were in fact sifting through the sediment, using their teeth and gills to sort out the edible detritus, invertebrates, and microalgae. The inedible bits were then spit out as the fish swam, causing what looked like crisscross jet streams to appear in the water column behind them. This was already super cool behavior to witness, but the vibrant, contrasting layers of the confluence made it all the more special. So yeah, even though I filmed this a while ago, I figured it was still worth including here. Kinda amazing that so much beauty can be created just by two different types of water mixing together. Well, another good snorkeling adventure. You know, not the most crazy wildlife I've ever seen. Kind of the usual suspects out there for Florida Springs, but sometimes it's not just about the creatures you see down there. Sometimes it's about the ecosystem itself, and I think it is pretty fair to say that is a absolutely spectacular aquatic ecosystem. What can I say? Gotta love a confluence. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see ya next time. All right, quick update on the next couple videos coming out. We're headed back to Appalachia for some hellbender salamander action, and then I'll be snorkeling in a place that I've never been before. Until then, keep it real. So this is my underwater camera housing, and this is the camera that goes inside. The camera I shoot with is the Canon R5. I've shot with Canon since I was like 16 years old, and I really love their cameras. I like the way they do color. It's just what works for me. R5 is a great camera. It's known for a little bit of overheating issues, which you've seen me run into in the past, but all in all, solid camera. For the lens, I have the Canon 8 to 15 millimeter f4L fisheye lens, which is not what most people would use or recommend using for video. However, it's one of the best lenses out there for underwater photography, and even though it is challenging to use for video, you have to really work hard to get stable shots. One of the things I think this lens does a really good job of is being able to place animals and wildlife in the context of their overall environment. They can focus really closely on the wildlife and then also still have such a wide angle that you can see a lot of the scenery behind them. And I think that's super important, especially for storytelling when it comes to wildlife. So that's the lens that I've been working with. And then my housing is Ikelite 200DL dive housing. And I've also got two big blue dive lights. They're 2900 VTLs. One of them I'm using as a video light right now. And then also two very old YS90DX CNC strobes. Now the strobes are super old. I've had them forever, but they're tanks. They work and they don't break. So I haven't really found an excuse to need to change them out yet. I also have the Ikelite compact dome port. I originally only would use the bigger dome port, which is a little bit better for splits and has a little bit better image quality, but this one is so tiny. I found that I can get a lot closer to wildlife. They're a little bit more tolerant of it, and I've been rocking it for a while now and been enjoying it. Now I'm going to show you how I put the camera in the housing. So this right here is what connects the strobes to the camera. Slide that into the hot shoe mount, line it up, and slide it in. Then I have my back plate here, which has an O-ring seal around it there. Just pop that in on the side and sure all the latches are locked in. And then I've got this doohickey right here, which is just a vacuum pump. And it just makes sure that the housing is all squeezed together so that the O-rings are providing maximum protection for everything inside so no water gets in there. And it takes a little while, which is why you see me pumping this a lot every now and then. And that's pretty much it. And I often put it in this cooler bag just to give it a little bit more protection while I'm carrying it around everywhere.